So let's say you've got a hole in your car like this. It's this big in this weird shape. This is just a bracket off the snowblower. But let's say you wanted to weld a piece of metal in right here that is the same shape, and so you can't really, let's say you couldn't take this out of the car because it's part of the car and it's hard to trace. So what you can do is take a piece of paper, use your aluminum, Mr. Aluminum, and try not to move this, and just by rubbing your aluminum on it, you will get a remarkably faithful tracing with the piece of rounded aluminum. Now, the other secret is, I think you can also do this just with your filthy hands. There, I just did this tracing with my filthy hands. And so maybe you don't really need this. But one of the things you'll notice is this isn't as crisp a line as that. That's a better line for cutting. So get yourself a chunk of aluminum. Make sure it's nice and dirty. And you will end up with a good tracing. I think also I've got to take this part off right here and flatten it on the anvil part of the vise, and probably the rest of this. So, well, there it is. That's how it's supposed to look, and it's pretty symmetrical. So I'm going to have to take the whole thing apart now, that cage. Okay, so that's what we're after. It's starting to look like it might be functional again. It just might, so. This is getting straighter. I heated it and bent it back, and you know, it definitely is looking better. And I went ahead and I worked on this, bent this guy back, heated it and bent it back, and then I made a pin out of a piece of rebar. Let's see if I can get a close-up of it. There's the pin that goes through that lever, and I actually was able to drill through that with an 85 thousandths drill bit. This part here is 0.200, and then the hole through it is 0.085 of an inch. So I'll be cutting this off next. Here's something that's come in handy many times. It's a roll of concrete wire. I guess you could refer to this as baling wire, but you find a roll of this in the concrete section of Home Depot or Lowe's, where it's used for tying rebar together and tying forms together before you pour concrete in them. And it's just common, mild steel, but boy, is this stuff handy for all sorts of things, and it's very inexpensive. So I went ahead, I took that pin and I cut it off from the rebar that it came from, and then I took that come over here, maybe you can see this a little better. I took that baling wire, that concrete rebar wire, and I welded it to the very back so that I can get it into the the snowblower. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see if I turn on the light. This pin has to go up into here, way in here where I cannot get my fingers between this chain. So my idea is to weld this on, get it in back there, put the pin through it, and then wiggle this wire back and forth until it breaks off. So we'll see if this works. Okay, where are we here? This came out and it works pretty well. That's retracted and that's pushed in. Let's see if I can show you that again. I turn the light on. There. So that's retracted and that's pushed in, and these little kind of notches here, or studs rather, they engage over here on the wheel, and it can be something of a problem because sometimes when you shove it over, the stud doesn't go into that notch, it bangs into here. So you end up having to twist your wheel around a little bit like this. I'm twisting the camera to get the two to lock. I don't really think this is all that important, because what you really want, I think, is both wheels locked. And when you make a change, you just grab, you can run a pin through the wheel like this. Here's a pin. And you run that through the wheel and through the axle, and you snap it down like that. And then your wheel is locked, and if you want to unlock it, you pull this out. And now the wheel is freewheeling. So it's kind of a manual. And I think most people just leave both wheels locked to the shaft and just kind of skid the thing left and right. So whoever I sell this to, I'm going to advise them, just leave the clutches on. Unless I keep it myself. This thing is really nice. I mean, it's in great shape. It's old, but the construction of it is top notch, and this one happens to be in fabulous shape. So, well, we'll see. I'll run it a little bit. The skids were worn out. They were once 3/8 of an inch thick, maybe 1/2 inch thick. You can see they've been worn down to nothing here. So I cut them off and I welded on some new skids out of 1/4 inch steel. And now I just have to wait for them to cool. I'll wire wheel them and paint them. There's some paint that I have left over, some rusty metal primer and some red. I think this was Tractor Supply. Just a generic red, should be okay. I don't think I've ever spray painted anything with my right hand while I'm videotaping with my left hand. But you know, whatever. Let's see. Let's turn that light off. That's a heat light. I use an Aeroflex 1000. I think it's an AL 1000 light as a heat light. Just turn it off. We should get a better image over here. Let's see. Ah, yes. Better. Try to get better at this as time goes on. There they are with the primer on them, and I think in about 15 minutes they'll be dry enough for the final coat. I leave a lot of the welding heat in them, which I think helps the paint cure. So, 10 minutes after they're welded, I try to hit them with paint to quicken the process, especially now because it's about 40 degrees out here in the shop, so this helps. They say top coat within 1 hour or wait like 24 to 48 hours. I think if you spray it with a top coat within an hour, the first coat is still wet and it fuses with the top coat. And if you don't do that, you got to wait 48 hours for it to fully cure, or else you get, I don't know, cracking or something like that. So I think in about 25 minutes, I'll be able to kind of put a light coat of red on here. Here is the mystery tool for the next episode. My guess is that a lot of people are going to know what this is, but maybe a lot of people don't know what it is. Thanks for hanging out with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.